Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Rumble, or listening via one of the many podcast platforms. This is the final episode of 2023 and it's episode 181. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. The format for the show is that I share with you the big idea for the day. I share 6 resources to help you implement the big idea. I review some key happenings during the week, and then the foundational principles for the show and further background about me can be found at the end of the show for newer viewers and listeners. So let's go with today's big idea. It's New Year's Eve 2023, and many people love making New Year resolutions. New Year resolutions can be very effective and very powerful. And the New Year commencement might just be the turning point that galvanizes you in the ways that you want. But what are those ways? How and what do you want to change? The depth of your self-awareness enables you to identify the answers to those key questions. I will therefore ask you 13 key questions to help you deepen and to provoke your self-awareness. Here they come. Question 1. How aware are you of restrictions and blind spots in your behavior that you have inherited from your past or kept carrying through from your past? 2. How aware are you of situations likely to hijack your behaviors? 3. How can you reframe a threatening situation in order to respond to it more powerfully? 4. What situations are your actions influenced strongly by your frame of reference and your worldview? 5. What is your worldview? 6. How open and vulnerable with others are you generally? 7. How do you listen intently to other people's viewpoints, opinions, and the sharing of their worldview? 8. How consistent are you with who you say you are? 9. How aware are you of when you're being inauthentic? 10. When you say you value, for example, transparency or honesty, so when you say you value transparency, how consistent are your actions with what you say? 11. How committed are you to something more meaningful than yourself? 12. How consistently do you do what you say you will do? And 13. When do you communicate and encourage yourself and others with inspiration and passion? 13 questions. There are many more that I ask and discuss when I do my executive coaching and when we do the self-awareness and passion quest. But these questions are each powerful. Meditating on each one of them will give you additional insights, will deepen your self-awareness. I wish you effective New Year resolution making. And if you don't like making New Year resolutions, then I wish you effective resolution making generally. So let's get to some resources. My song for this show is one of my favorites from Les Miserables, Who Am I?, with Jean Valjean singing on this question asking this question, who am I? That's the question I'm posing to you. Who are you? I ask it of myself regularly. Who am I? And he is singing on whether Jean Valjean in the show, if you haven't seen it, is he going to speak up the truth about who he is? And that's a great question. That's the question I'm posing to you in this show. Are you truly acting in the way that is consistent with who you are? And then how well do you know who you are? That's an even more difficult question. Do you know who you are? And so the question in the song goes, who am I? Can I conceal myself forevermore? Pretend I'm not the man I was before. He was accused of robbing. And must my name until I die be no more than an alibi? Must I lie? How can I ever face my fellow men? How can I ever face myself again? My soul belongs to God, I know. I made that bargain long ago. And then he makes this decision. I will be true to who I am. That's my wish for you, that you are true to who you are. My book is by a wonderful man, Jack Canfield, co-author with Mark Victor Hansen of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, one of the most book series in probably the most successful book series in history. And his book, The Success Principles, is excellent in terms of helping to crystallize the application of who you are in a focused way to then grab who you are and then focus the answers and your resolutions on what you want. That's the crucial elements on your success journey. Because when you know who you are, then you go, well, this is what I want. Great book, The Success Principles, easy to read, great resource. The quote from Seneca, consistent with that power of focus, and Julie loves Seneca, Roman philosopher. Let all your efforts be directed to something. Let them keep that end in view. A vision. Let all your efforts be directed to something. The power of focus. It's like a magnifying glass focusing the rays of the sun. You've heard that metaphor, but it's a powerful idea. One of the other metaphors for that power of focus is a knife. Why does the knife cut through? Why doesn't a spoon cut through? The answer is the spoon dissipates energy. A knife, coming to a point, focuses energy. So every time you use a knife or a spoon, remind yourself of the power of focused energy. My spiritual tip is for you to meditate on these 13 questions. Spend that time going deep inside and going, who am I? My health tip. I've been talking about, quite cerebral things, mind things, spiritual things. Well, let's go physical. I find that many people don't have enough physical massages. So that's my tip for the end of the year. From the fun and the partying that you've been having, it could be that some physical massages would do you the world of good. Move your energies around in your physical body. And then, lastly, since we're talking about exploring who you are, so I thought, we need a bit of psychiatric humor, a bit of psychology, psychiatry. So here's a couple of humorous thoughts for you. My doctor insisted that I come and see you, said the patient to the eminent psychiatrist. Goodness knows why, because I'm happily married, I like my job, got lots of friends and no worries. Said the psychiatrist, reaching for his notebook. How long have you been like this? Next one. I told my girlfriend the truth, that I was seeing a psychiatrist. She told me the truth, that she was seeing a psychiatrist, a plumber, and 2 barmen. Patient says to the psychiatrist, "Why do you think so many people take an instant dislike to me?" Psychiatrist says, "It saves time." Fourthly, "Everybody hates me," says the patient. Psychiatrist, "Don't be silly. Everyone hasn't met you yet." And then the last one, shapely blonde enters the psychiatrist's office. She stands nervously by his desk as he tells her to lie on the couch. She hesitates. Come now," said the psychiatrist. "How can I help you unless you lie down on the couch?" Finally, she walks over and stretches out on the couch. "Now then," says the psychiatrist, "tell me how your troubles began." She looked him straight in the eye. "Just like this," she said. Very humorous, very humorous. I love humour, as you know, being chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy. Make sure you laugh lots each day. So, take the steps to use today's big idea. Go deep in your self-awareness so that you make great resolutions, not just at New Year's, but throughout the year. Today's idea can make a massive difference to your life, and the resources will help you to make that difference. My aim for the show is to provoke you, inspire you, motivate you to constantly raise your self-awareness so that you live life on your terms. I invite you to subscribe to the show, share it with your family and friends, subscribe whether it's YouTube, Rumble, or a podcast. Visit the website, charlescovest.com, tells you full details about the self-awareness and passion quest. Covest.com for public and corporate programs. My books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, are available at both of those websites. Now let's review some key happenings during the week. Christmas has come. It's gone. I sent you my dull Christmas message, DULL. I hope you got a chance to watch it. It's a short one if you didn't. I invite you to go back. The DULL stands for discern, unite, learn, love. Hope Christmas was most wonderful and enjoyable for you. It was for Julie and me. My TNT radio guests are TNTRadio.Live every Sunday night Melbourne time at 7 p.m. I have the Mind Medicine program. My guest on New Year's Eve is Professor Ian Brighthope. After that show, Julie and I are going to an annual fancy dress party. So we might share photos with you of how we dress up. The Australian weather behaviour. I promise you there's no global warming, and I say again, and I keep saying there's no climate emergency. The data is so against this nonsense that there's a climate emergency. And for any thinking person who thinks that there's a looming disaster of CO2 levels, I say they are either got money out of spreading that fear porn, or they are ignorant. And if you think there's a climate emergency, I invite you to contact me and we'll have a full-scale debate on whether or not there is, because the evidence won't support you. This idea that carbon and carbon dioxide, essential to life, is going to kill us and destroy this planet is madness. The fear-mongering in the mainstream media continues in many ways. The warnings, at least they're not warning about coffee. The fear-mongering about the next health problem. And at the same time, while kids are dying suddenly, while kids are having strokes suddenly, now the medical profession is trying to come out and explain this previously extraordinarily unusual series of happenings. Oh no, well, we're discovering new things about the heart. They're certainly discovering new things, but they're ignoring the elephant in the room, and you know what it is, and it's the bioweapons that have been put into people. Don't have any more of them. Novak Djokovic has arrived in Australia in preparation for the Australian Open. If he wins, it'll be the 11th Australian Open, and his stance on his health is most commendable. Be inspired by his willingness to put his career on hold while he pushed back against madness, while he pushed back against the disgraceful behaviour of the vast majority of health professionals who sold out for money. It's one of the key questions on self-awareness. When do you stand up for your values, for your principles? I've been doing a fair bit of learning and research during the week on child trafficking. The numbers are horrific. Mainstream media, again, refuses to report the numbers. It pretends to be concerned about one child who gets injured or one child who gets killed, while millions are trafficked globally. And the question, I'll unpack it more of this as 2024 goes on, who is the beneficiary of this trafficking? Who are the beneficiaries of such trafficking? It is evil in the extreme. And lastly, I'm continuing to track Dick Dan. That's Daniel Andrews, former Premier. I'm committed to making sure that his actions are publicised so that he is not paid by any corporation in the future for his services. He has caused such harm to Victoria, as have many premiers around Australia. They must be held to account. Their decisions, their behaviours, their corruption is totally unacceptable, and they cannot be rewarded for what they've done in office by sailing off into the sunset, getting superannuation and retirement benefits for the rest of their days, and then when they turn up at functions, they're honoured. No, I want dictator Dan Andrews, Dick Dan, to pay for the rest of his life. Trust me, when the truth comes out, if you aren't aware of the truth, you will be horrified by the truth. In the meantime, Julie and I promise you, on a day-by-day basis, are happy, are having a wonderful time together. And whilst I get passionate about these issues of principle, because we're talking about the future of humanity, on a moment-by-moment basis, I am loving life. I'm loving my work. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about this show, and I'm passionate about exploring any ideas that you want me to explore. So, if you're new to the show, stick around. We'll cover the foundational principles of the show and more background about me at the end of the show. Again, thanks for watching or listening. Have a wonderful New Year's Eve celebration. I wish you a wonderful 2024, a happy 2024, and you know the principles of being happy. I wish you deeper self-awareness, and I look forward to this show helping you on your ongoing journey to your success. Have a great New Year's Eve. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show, here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Covess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the color of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@covess.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.